and Sydney time with Marc Charette from LinkedIn Local Central Coast. We are amazed at the amazing job you guys have been doing with Brendan, Isaac, and now Akil. And it's all about, it was always all about relationships and how you created the community. Could you tell us some things that makes it work and how long it's taken to get to this stage?
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, the LinkedIn Local Central Coast is something that for us really started off back in 2018, and we were running business events. Brendan was running business events, and I was assisting him with a lot of them. And we were trying to get a little bit more of a community feel where people would stick around at the end of the event and network, because that was one of the things that we thought was really important. Yet most of the presentations that we were having were in fact presenters talking to a topic. What we found is that really the topic sometimes was actually getting in the way of the networking. So we essentially flipped it all on its head by, and it's actually the opportunity for doing it under the brand of LinkedIn Local Central Coast and LinkedIn Local was somewhat by accident an opportunity that there was someone else who had, when LinkedIn Local was just starting out, and Anna McAfee was actually getting the message out about it. The hashtag was going viral at that time. There was a woman on the Central Coast here who's a lawyer who just simply ran out of time to do all this stuff, and so Brendan reached out to her and had a chat. He said, "Hey, if you don't have the time, would you like us to help or participate or do it?" And she says, "Just take it." So we ran with it. And we held our first event and had about 50 or 60 people show up. Second event, we had like 75 or 80 people show up, and it just got crazy. Like, we were so incredibly surprised. And I think, to answer the real question with regards to, what makes it so cool, I think, is the fact that we have some very, very simple rules of engagement. It's building trusted relationships over time and keep showing up, no pitch. If we do it that way, it makes it easier for just about anyone to feel very much at ease. They can participate. There may or may not be competitors in the room. It doesn't matter. That's not what it's about. It's about making sure that you feel at ease at just being somewhere where you're not going to get pitched and there's no one standing on a stage trying to sell you something. And that's really where a lot of that relationship building was built on.
It was one of the things that we loved about the whole LinkedIn Local was it just didn't feel like there was any pressure. It was very authentic and really getting people to that whole like, know, and trust and build those relationships. And we'd been up to Sawtell, and we met up with Anna, and she was running in Scotty's workspace up there. And then it was all, why don't we run one down in Hornsby? And it was kind of the thing that when Senator and I got together, what we were looking for, just people getting to know one another and like you said, just build it over time.
That's right. It's really important to remember that the idea of networking is really, it's, it first, there's a key word in there. It's called work. Okay. It requires work. It's, if you think that networking is show up and leave exactly core work, exactly, it's work. You have, if you think you're going to get results by showing up once, probably not. You really need to be there on an ongoing basis to develop that trust over time. So I don't know about you guys, but I find that most of the time when I meet someone for the first time, it's like, great, you might see that you have a lot in common, you might have a great conversation. But if you're going to get to the point where you may want to either refer them to someone else, or you can help them, or they're looking, or maybe you're looking for their services or their help, that's usually something that happens after you've known someone for long enough to allow the quirks to show up, right? Like, eventually you find out and sometimes they're really good quirks. They're really cool things that you go, geez, I didn't know you did that too, So, or I didn't know you knew so many people in this industry or this business. So it's really important to allow the opportunity to grow over time.
and some of the things where, especially when you start seeing other people in different groups, and you start noticing, oh, hang on, we've already connected at some of the groups, and then you tend to form all these bonds from all these different relationships. And as soon as you get to that point, you learn more about the people, and you start connecting more on a deeper level, and you get to understand what they love to do and what is their purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with you, Mark, man, like you love photography and everything, and yeah, and I sort of resonate with that because I love doing that, and I connect with you and easily with that because that's something I love doing as well, and I love that creativity. And these are the ways that we sort of form all these relationships. And what do you think are other important things that we should look at in forming these close bonds?
I think one of the first things to think about is to essentially make sure that you understand the lay of the land when it comes to other networking groups, because there's a ton of them, and there's some really good ones out there. And often what happens is that if you try to compete head to head by trying to do something that's exactly the same as someone else, it's going to be hard. It's going to be harder anyway, and usually there are gaps, and the gaps don't have to be very big. I think that's the real key thing, is find that one thing that's a little different. Good examples of one organization I have a lot of respect for is the BNI groups. I'm sure a lot of people would be familiar with BNI, and they have a policy which is very much that of you gotta show up. It's weekly, and if you don't show up, make sure you send a substitute in to make sure that you have that presence. That's really important to them. And they also have a very strong rule with respect to the number of businesses within one industry. They have a very much one industry, one person per group. And so imagine, so that makes their definition of their rules of engagement. Take other groups that might have a rule where they allow 2 people within any one industry, or they may have it's every 2 weeks, or if you miss meetings, it's no big deal. Or like you look for all these little differences, and when you find that there's something that you can do that's different, that'll attract a group of people, because it that you don't know which one of those rules has actually made them say I can't go to this event, or I can't go to this function, or it's not a good fit for me. It might be because it's an industry specific thing. For example, there are people who just do tech meetings. Right, so all the techies get together. There's others that are just tourism here on the Central Coast. That's one of the things that I was involved with for a long time, because of the tourism industry being so important here. So there's all of these things. So find that niche, and when you develop it, make sure that you are also reaching out to the other groups and making sure that you're friendly with them. There's no need to feel competitive or combative, and the other thing too is, as much as possible, try not to hold your events on the same day or same time as somebody else if you can. Hard to do, but have a look at what's going on in Eventbrite. Have a look at what's going on in all these other platforms and see what's going on, so that you have a good understanding. Get a sense of the lay of the land.
I like that. We've got to check more of what's happening, and we've been mentioning all these different events and all the events that we go to, and we do love going to many different events ourselves, and that's how we get to pick out other people, and as well as collaborate and start working with other people. And we held this LinkedIn local collaboration between the 3 different groups when we had that pandemic, and we formed lots of different bonds, and I'm sure a lot of people are still talking between each other, and so some of the key important things is to really follow up with people, and if you're going to do something, do follow up with them and just chase them down on different social media platforms, especially on LinkedIn, right? So that's the main reason of having the LinkedIn local, but it's not just the end all, because a lot of other people connect on other social media platforms. So collaboration is one of the important key things in working with others. So what other points do you see that makes it successful? And what I've seen is that you guys hold it in a couple of different locations. And how did you come about all the different locations, and holding it, and how did you choose these locations?
Well, essentially, I can't say that. Sometimes it's the location that chooses us as much as we choose them. I think that there's a symbiotic relationship that takes place with that, and you can sort of tell that because I know you guys have been out to both of the locations recently that we've been holding our events at Lion's Den in Gosford and at Sean's place over at the Lakes Entrance in Long Jetty, and really it's about making sure that the host venue is really feeling like they're a real participant, they're a real part of the team, because they play an incredibly important role. They create the ambiance, they create the mood, they create the atmosphere, so that when people walk in, the place is just going to speak for itself. So being selective in that sense is very important. It's also really important to make sure that the owner, manager, team members that are actually there really understand who we are, what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish, and make them feel incredibly included, because they're a major part of the community. Now, a lot of the bars, pubs, clubs, that kind of thing, they're often where people would normally meet otherwise too. So, and one of the other things that we do to go back to what you were saying, Sandra, with regards to that following up, is we encourage people to go back and have those follow-up meetings in person at these venues as much as is possible. I mean, COVID allowing, of course. But that's the idea, is as much as we can, because I don't know how many times I've had coffee or lunch at venues that I've had functions at prior to, as a way of basically continuing to say, hey, thank you for hosting a wonderful event for us.
And I think, and one of the things that we've seen is the energy in some of these rooms. Energy has been so important in making an event so successful. Mm-hmm. Would you have any tips on how people can bring energy with them to some of these networking events?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the easiest ways, bring someone else with you, because it brings twice as much energy, right? It's as much as you can. Remember that if you're going to an event, especially the free events, because they are free, it makes it so easy. Paid even is, it shouldn't be that hard. Like there's other organizations that I belong to that where I'll often invite a guest on a paid basis, and that's okay too. It's remembering that if you're going to drive the energy, think in terms of when you bring that person, are they also a good fit? Will they bring that right level of energy into the room? Are they, how serious are they about wanting to get to know, like, and trust other people within the community? If they have that same ethos, you'll find that there's a lot of connection. There's one of the things I can bring in, and it sort of ties a lot of these things in. It's more to do with the work that I do in my day job with the local SEO space and the directory listings network and all that, is something that I call the GDP of local businesses. And the GDP of local businesses respects three basic rules, and it's not gross domestic produce. So, toss that one out. That's for the big boys, and that's for the governments. That's not for the little local businesses, right? But the GDP of local businesses stands for geography, demography, and psychography. Those are the three tenets that I actually tell people they got to really think about. So think of how far will someone travel legitimately. Like, you guys travel quite far, and some people have traveled quite far to come to our events, because they are great events, and we have had that opportunity to get people to join us from a fair distance. But think of the geography and think of how far you should really be doing outreach, which is one of the reasons why we actually have the two locations, because it reduces the level of distance to travel. So that's a geography question that we're addressing with that. The demography, well, that's the easy data about who are they, where do they work, what kind of work do they do, are they in sales? Salespeople love to network, right? That's that kind of thing. The real estate agents, conveyancers, psychologists, we can go down the list and on and on and on, coaches, business coaches, all of that. So that's the stuff that's a title. It's easy enough to find. Now, the last one is the real juice, is the psychography. It's a P, it's a silent P, and I love that's why it's a lot more fun to play with that space, right? And the psychography is, what are you into? Like, what kind of personality are you? Are you a creative? Are you someone who is very, if you were to do a disc profile, where would you sit in that space? Disc profile tends to address the psychography. So if you start to find that you have too much of one kind, it gets boring. But if you have too much of a spread, then there's maybe a lack of a congruence. So it's about understanding these two sides of it. So think of in terms of when you're building your networking request list, that list of emails that you're going to send out. Think a little bit about how far are they, what do they do, and what are they likely interested in.
Wow, that's I like that last piece, because then that really delves into how people are in themselves, and that's thank you. I've learnt quite a bit from a lot of the things that make LinkedIn Local work real well. And there's just so many factors in what's going on, and of course there's a lot of things that happen in the background that people don't really get to see, and all of that planning and all the meetings and because we've had all these meetings, and how are we going to bring all these different people, and what sort of people are we looking for, and when are we going to hold it, and so many times that we've done that even for LinkedIn Local, for the collaboration that we did, and I found that really interesting. I think we should do another one of these collaborations, and see if we can have a few more LinkedIn Local communities instead of just us, and see if we can encompass many other LinkedIn Local. If you guys are seeing this and you're from LinkedIn Local, please let us know, and DM one of us, and get in touch with one of us. I can see there's also comments. Brendan Rogers have just quickly jumped in there saying nice work, chaps. And Sonia Kavanagh has come in and said, LinkedIn Local is safe, non-threatening, and friendly group. My business has grown due to the connection I've made by turning up. And that's a testament to, it's testament to all the great work that you guys have been doing up in the Central Coast, and kudos to the team. And there's just so much more that we can talk about there. Is there anything else you'd like to sort of end this with?
Probably the single most important thing is don't try to do this alone. Have a team. There's a reason why Brendan, Isaac, Akil, and I are able to do it, because there are going to be times when you just, like, COVID has literally got, like, Akil couldn't show up. He was a close contact, right? Things happen, right? And you don't want to be in a situation where you're hosting an event, and if you're the only person who can actually host it, and you have to cancel the event because you're the host, oops, right? So think in terms of having a team in place, and make it meaningful for everyone. Make sure that there's something that they're going to get out of it that really, understands. This is one of the things that Brendan speaks an awful lot with what he does, is the why do you exist? Like, think of that. Think clearly about, if you're clear on why you exist, and why you do what you do, and think of the long game, chances are you're going to be at it for a lot longer. You'll stick it out. You'll go through those occasional times when things get a little tough, or you'll be able to lean on people who will help you out.
Perfectly said. I think that's great. Great summary, and we can see from the events how successful they've been. So the next one is coming up when?
March the 28th. It's going to be Lions Den. So we're looking forward to seeing as many people as we can out there. It's a small place, so it feels cozy in a hurry, which is fabulous. But there's great outdoor space too, which is great. So I recommend signing up as early as you can, so that we have a better understanding, because that also helps the venue, right? So the earlier we know, the faster we can tell the venue, hey, this is how many people are going to be showing up, so that they can prepare, because they actually they're volunteering their staff, or paying for their staff to be there. We want to make sure that they're really prepared for it, and that it's a good event for everyone that way.
Oh, I love the Lions Den, so they've done real well in getting that up, and I love the story to that. If you guys do go ask them how it came about, and they've got a brilliant story, and I love all the little touches that they've done there.
Absolutely.
So, Mark, thanks for coming in and letting us know more about LinkedIn Local,
Yeah.
because we love going to LinkedIn Local Central Coast, and we'll continually go up there, and we love the collaboration, the energy that you've given, as well as all the things you guys just keep on giving, and you know what, the returns are coming in, because when you do give, it just comes back.
Absolutely.
And that community is.
We love having you guys there. It's just keep showing up and bring lots of people with you. Always bring a friend.
Yeah, we get a bit loud. We haven't been booted out yet, but I know the eyes are on us when we're there.
Yeah.
So we'll keep it down.
You do know I'm a Canadian, right? So don't worry. I keep a hockey stick in the back of my car just in case.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, I was going to book into the 28th of March, but funny enough, I've got something on now.
What?
All good.
All
Hey,
right,
Laura's jumped in. Just want to say, Laura Ratcliffe, welcome.
All right.
Oh, and also Salaudin Yusuf from Bangladesh.
Cool.
Oh, Bangladesh. Hello. Yes, I missed that bit.
Yeah.
So we'll end this. Stay online. We'll just end this and say, if you love all the things that we're doing, just follow us, connect with us. If you don't know anyone here, let us know. We'll put in links that on the events and so forth. We'll see you next week. Anna McAfee will be here next week.
Wow. And
she's the one and only, where it all originated from. So stay tuned on that.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.